This video, we're going to go a little bit into it. We're going to go into immigration again. Um, the other video on immigration, what I talked about before, was a little more about focused on the plans of how to secure the border, what to do with illegals and stuff after the border's secure. What I think we need to discuss right this moment is a little bit more specifically DACA and immigration itself, illegal immigration. That's the big thing in the media right now. After the shutdown last week, that's a little more. We need to talk a little more about that. Some more details about that. Before I go into that, what I want to do is I want you to see this. It's a little small. It just cost a few bucks at Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, most bookstores. I actually have one that's a little smaller, and it's called a Pocket Constitution. And what you're going to see is you're going to see either this or my Pocket Constitution with me quite a bit during the campaign, because I've read this multiple times over the past 8 to 10 years. Once I started seeing the previous administration's lack of desire to follow the Constitution, I hadn't actually read the Constitution really since high school in American history class. So I got that, and I got this, and I got the little Pocket Constitution, and I started reading it again, and so I could understand the Constitution, the way it's written. And that's why you see on the head of my Facebook page it says I'm a constitutional believer. I'm a believer in the Constitution. Okay, because I really do truly believe that this government is supposed to be run in accordance with what our founding fathers set down on paper in that document. So, and I do refer back to it on a regular basis because unless you use certain things, it's easy to forget stuff. So when I talk about things, I want to talk about what the Constitution says. Now, all of the rules and laws that govern the United States of America is not written strictly in the Constitution. The Constitution gave authority to Congress to make those laws, and that's the U.S. Code. And I don't think I could actually read the whole U.S. Code in the rest of my lifetime. But as a senator, I'll definitely be referring back to it because those are the laws of the land. And when it deals with DACA and the Constitution and the laws, President Obama himself said, President Clinton said, we're a country of laws. Now, just because they both chose to ignore the laws in how they did things, and Chuck Schumer and other Democrats in Congress and these liberal states like California that are making these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states just because they don't understand the law. And it's not, I don't think that they don't understand it, they're just literally ignoring it. And the biggest issue I have with that is the fact that, what makes them as a politician believe that they have a right to literally pick and choose which federal laws that they follow and which ones they don't think apply to them. As an average American citizen, all of the laws of the country apply to me and you. If we did some of the stuff that these politicians are doing, we'd be thrown in jail and they'd throw away the key. So I would recommend everybody go get you a little book Constitution and stuff like that, so that you can kind of read through it and see what they're not doing right. That being said, let's get into DACA first. DACA is not a law, people. It was never passed by Congress, and what it is it was a illegal executive order signed by President Obama to give temporary amnesty, so to speak, to children who were brought in this country illegally. To illegals that are here now who were children when they were brought in by their parents. As I spoke of before, my policy on that is the fact that I am empathetic to these kids. They're children. They didn't have a say-so in the matter. For example, let's say like back when I was a kid, 5, 6, 7 years old, and my dad got a. Excuse me, I like to drink coffee, so I'll be drinking coffee while we're talking. My dad got a job transfer to Texas. Well, when him and Mom picked up and moved to Texas, it wasn't like I got to stay back in Ohio because, well, I didn't want to go to Texas. I didn't have a choice. As a child, you go where, when your parents have to move or they move, you go where they move. You don't get to stay where you are. And that's why I have empathy for these kids, because their parents made the decision to come to the United States. Now, they didn't come legally. They just decided to come in the way they wanted to. And the kids didn't get a choice. They had to come with the parents. They came with their parents. And they've lived here their whole lives. So it's not like they decided one day to pick up and move to the United States illegally. They just didn't have a choice in the matter. Well, in that case, I agree with an opportunity to give them amnesty, to give them legal status as legal residents of the United States. Now, for their parents, not really on that subject. You know, it's that goes along with what I've said before about the once we secure the border and the amnesty period that I want to have in after the border's secure. But anything we do now, and the reason why I say up to 21, I'm along with this on anybody 21 and younger, and the reason is you're not a legal adult until the age of 18. So kids that are today 10, 12, 15 years old, 16 years old, cannot on their own come into immigration of any way and say, I'm here illegally and I want to fix that status, I want to become a resident or whatever they do. They can't do that because they don't have the legal authority to do that. Their parents has to do that. And obviously their parents are here illegally. They're not going to come do it because they're going to be deported. So to keep these kids from being put in a bad spot, you know, and I would say let's work with them on that right now. And I'm going to say what I want to do here in a minute. But the reason why I say up to 21 is because once you become 18, it's now, you are now considered a legal adult, make decisions on your own, and you can come in and do that now on your own. So, excuse me, what I'm doing is I'm giving you a 3-year grace period from the time you turn 18 to get in and get your stuff taken care of. Because you know you're not here legally, so therefore you have to wait till you're 18, then you can come and do it. And I'm giving you a 3-year period due to processing and all this other stuff. My philosophy on anyone over 21 is the fact that you know you're here illegally. You've had more than enough time that you've become age of consent. You should have already handled it by now. You've got some of these dreamers, that's what the DACA is all about, that are in their late 20s and 30s. And they're still illegals. To me, that's just you telling me, screw you, I don't care about your laws. So I have no empathy for them, and they get deported. See ya. Back out of here. But we can't really do anything on that permanent until we get the border secure. So border security has to go in hand with any agreement on DACA. But my policy on that would be, what I would be, if I was in the Senate right now, what I'd be working on is, let's get a I say 5 years should be sufficient time. Let's get a temporary 5-year amnesty for DACA, the kids 21 and younger, passed, so that they're okay while we're getting the border secure. I think under my plan that we should be able to have a secure border within 5 years. So at that point, then we can work on the permanent things. But let's get these kids at least 5 years, okay? But it has to go through Congress, has to be passed through Congress. And President Trump said he'd sign whatever we put out there, something to help these kids out. And he empathizes with them. He's already said, he feels for these kids. It's not their fault. He understands that. The adults don't count in that aspect. So we need to work for something like that. And I would support something like that. But we got to have the border wall in there too, the barrier. Now, I'm going to say this, and what it is, this is kind of hearsay. I heard this morning on the news that Chuck Schumer, in making the agreement to end the shutdown, promised that he would go along with $25 million for the border wall. All right. And now I've heard that he's rescinded that. Well, that would be the typical Democrat liberal way of doing it. Say what you want to say to get people to go along with you, and then do what you want to do once you get there. That's part of the reason why we need to drain the swamp in Washington. The swamp that I'm talking about is the Capitol building with Congress. You got too many politicians in there saying one thing and doing what they want. And that's where I think the people of the country and the people of Ohio have gotten fed up with the swamp, the politicians. They're looking for someone who is going to go do what they say instead of what Chuck Schumer did. Now, let me say this, and I say it's hearsay, because I didn't hear Chuck Schumer say that. It's just like President Trump. He was accused of calling certain countries whole countries, okay? You and I, neither one was in that meeting. And the person that's leaked this is a liberal Democrat senator who has a reputation of leaking stuff from closed door meetings and not always being truthful with what he says was said in the meeting. It's a way of pushing a specific agenda that he wants people to think about or whatever. So I wasn't in that meeting. I don't know if President Trump said those things. I don't know if he referred to him that way. I don't know if what he even talked about. We wasn't there. That's called hearsay, okay? And I'm going to say it like this. Most of the stuff you see in the news is hearsay. Reporters say, oh, so-and-so said this. In a court of law, they call that hearsay. It's not admissible as evidence. I go in there and I get subpoenaed in to witness for something. And they say, well, Mr. Pinion, did you see so-and-so do something? Well, no, sir, I heard he did it from this person who supposedly saw it. But did you see it? No, I didn't. Well, then it's not submissible. All right? I've been in a couple situations like that over time. And, but that's how it works. So we got a bunch of people in this country that take what they hear on TV as the gospel truth. Oh, that's what he said. Look at the firestorm that's come up about President Trump's remarks. Well, we don't even know if he said it. It's hearsay. But the liberal media, they thought it was a word of truth. So that's why I digressed into that little comment, because I don't know if Chuck Schumer actually promised $25 million or not. That's what I heard he had done. But for DACA, like I said, we're getting ready to get into another situation next week, just like what we just got out of. And like I said, on my budget plan, we're not going to be arguing about a budget every 6 months, 2-3 weeks, whatever. The budget should have already been settled up, and DACA shouldn't even be a part of that. But DACA has to be done separately, and we need to work on this plan. Let's work on giving these folks this 5-year period, and let's start working on getting the border secure. Once this border secure, then we can look at a more permanent thing. Now, if you look at my plan of securing the border for immigration, once we've got the border secure, then we're going to have an amnesty period for immigration so that people can do it. But we can't do anything with an open porous border. If we did a permanent DACA deal right now, you're going to have people pouring across the border because it's a set deal, and don't matter when they came in, they're going to get that amnesty now. Okay? I don't agree with that. So let's make it a 5-year temporary thing. But like I said, it's got to go through Congress. It cannot be an executive order. I don't know. Maybe it could be for right now until we get something permanent worked out. But I would rather see it go through Congress. That's what President Trump did. Just so everybody understands, the DACA agreement was like I said, it was an illegal executive order signed by President Obama in order to give temporary amnesty to these illegals. Now, the president has no authority to give temporary amnesty if it goes against the laws set down by Congress. Okay? Only Congress can do that. And what this is President Trump is not ending DACA. President Obama's executive order had a time end date on it. It's only good for this amount of time. And it's up to President Trump on whether he renews it or not. And what he's doing is, obviously, if you've heard what he said about it, he empathizes with these kids and he wants them to have amnesty or whatever because it's not their fault. And therefore, he wants Congress to make a deal to get it done right. So it's an actual law. And therefore it's good. But like I said, we need to secure the border first. Now let's move on to immigration a little bit and the sanctuary cities. Yesterday, President Trump had a meeting with the mayors, a mayor's meeting, forum or something like that, and there were several of them. And I was listening to Fox News, and they had some people talking about that this morning. And the Democrat girl they had on there, she was talking about, they asked her about the mayors that refused to go. And she said, she would have went if she was a mayor. She would have went because then she could have got to President Trump directly and told him what she felt about it. But she also said that, in her opinion, that the illegals should be allowed to stay. Well, it's kind of funny because here over the past couple of days, I've seen a couple things that I caught my eye. I thought was funny, but it's how we relate to people can understand what the immigration situation is. Okay, if you relate it to your house, see this, the United States of America is our home. American citizens, legal residents, this is our home. Okay. And when you have someone who goes through the process of legal immigration, that's the same as a person who comes to visit you at your private home, knocks on the door, and then waits for you to come in and say, hey, how you doing? Come on in. Okay? They're now in your house because you invited them in. That's a legal immigrant. The illegal immigrants are the ones that just walk up to your front door, open it, and come on in on their own. And then they sit down, they start eating your food and drinking your whatever. And you go, what are you doing? Leave, get out, I didn't invite you in. And they're like, nope, I ain't going nowhere. And this woman is saying it's okay with her for these people to do this. Well, I got a suggestion. Why don't we take a couple of those illegals, let them just go barging into her house, sit down in her house, start eating her food, drinking or whatever, and then tell her they ain't leaving. Because she thinks that they should be allowed to stay. Well, hey, you think that, here they are. Let them stay now. Feed them, put them up, take care of them, because that's what you believe. No, 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 no. That wouldn't be good. They wouldn't do something like that. You know what she'd be doing? She'd be on the phone, 911. Come get these people out of my house. Well, and that's deportation. You're going to call the cops. Cops are going to come arrest them, take them out of your house. You're deporting them out of your house back into wherever they came from. All right? Well, that's what we're doing with the illegals. Sanctuary states, they're the ones that's breaking the law. States, cities, they're breaking the law by allowing them to stay. Now, this is the funny thing, and I just thought about this earlier today. Not only are they breaking federal law, but they're breaking their own state laws. How is that, you ask? Well, if that person that come to your front door and you invited them in and allowed them to stay in your home was a criminal who's hiding from the cops, there's a law called aiding and abetting. You're harboring a fugitive. Okay? Every state has the same type of law. So when the cops find out that that person's in your house, they're going to come in and they're going to arrest that fugitive because they found him. But guess what else is fixing to happen? You're going to jail too. You're going to jail for aiding and abetting. So I got a suggestion. And maybe we need to look into this a little more. Now, I don't know all the codes and all the state laws. They're a little bit different per state. But what I would like to do would be contact the Justice Department. And since they're investigating into how we could deal legally with these politicians who are breaking federal law with the immigration sanctuary cities, when we arrest them, we not only charge them with the federal statutes that they're breaking, but let's charge them with aiding and abetting. Now, this is going to put the judges, the liberal judges, into a bit of a predicament. And what that predicament is, they're going to try to find a way to say, well, you know, for the federal stuff. But now they have to come down to the aiding and abetting, which they've all put people in jail for that purpose. You see, this is the problem. If the judge lets them off on the aiding and abetting charges, the judge knows that when there's a regular civilian that comes up for the aiding and abetting charges, they're going to say, well, Your Honor, and they're going to refer to the politicians. Now, is the judge going to have a double standard where he let the politicians go, but he puts this person in jail? How's he going to handle this? Because he knows that's what's going to happen. So now he's going to have to start letting regular people off on the aiding and abetting. Or he's going to have to put that politician in jail. Now, there's a lot of people who going to sit here and go, man, you're just reaching. No, I don't think so. You know, the law is the law. And if you and I were charged with something like that, we would go spend a lot of time behind bars. So, because they're an elected official, does that make them different than us? Now, something else too, and I think we need to get this nationwide, this video here nationwide, because this is all it takes, folks, to fix this problem. It's not necessarily the federal government going in there and arresting these people. Honestly, I could not 100% say that we can do something like that. I don't know why we couldn't. All right, we arrest regular individuals for it, so why can't we arrest politicians too? There's no immunity in the Constitution. A politician does not have immunity in the Constitution for breaking the law that says they can't be punished for it, the same as a regular citizen. But let's make things a little bit simpler. Let's get all of the conservatives in California or whatever other liberal or sanctuary state or city. Let's get them all to band together and let's vote the idiots out of office and put people in there that's going to be more concerned about following the law than following their own liberal personal agenda. You know, right now I recently seen where there's a group of conservative counties in the state of California, which if you look, it's kind of funny. It's like almost the whole state, minus right along the coast there in LA, that wants to separate from the rest of California, leave just those little, looks like about a handful, half a dozen counties, and call themselves the new California, become the 51st state. I disagree with that. I would say we do it this way instead. If they're going to do that, they're going to separate. They become the state of California. The new California is that group of half a dozen or so liberal counties that along the coast there, and since they've already started a petition to secede from the Union, let those counties secede from the Union, become their own little country for about 6 months or a year, because that's about how long they'll last. And the regular part of California who wants to follow the law can just be the state California that it is today. I think that would be a better way to do it. Instead of trying to become a 51st state, just, let them go succeed, be their own country, since that's what they want to do anyway. And then the rest of the state can just be a part of America, since that's what they want to do. Okay? But I would say the better way to do it is for all of those counties to get together and vote the people out of office, out of Sacramento, the governor, the attorneys general, the legislature. Get those idiots out of office that are causing the problems. That's how a democratic republic works. You vote. That's why we have elections. If these people are being so stupid to do stuff that they are, let's kick them out. But immigration has to be handled in conjunction with the security of the border. But I think we need to also look at what the Department of Justice is doing right now. Is also look at maybe some of them folks need to be arrested. And folks, it's only going to take one or two. And that's the whole point. We got to have punishment is not meant to just slap you on the wrist when you do something wrong. Punishment is meant to be a deterrent. So, and that's part of what's wrong with our judicial system. Is punishment's gotten so weak that people aren't afraid of doing things wrong. They don't care anymore. If we put punishment for things back where it was fearful, then people wouldn't be committing some of the crimes that they are. Because they wouldn't want to suffer the punishment if they got caught. I want to give you an example, and this is my personal example. All through school, I never got in trouble. There were times where I could have, okay? Trust me. But see, I went to school back in the days when you got called out in the hallway and got you 3 licks, and then come back in embarrassed in front of your friends because you got the board out there in the hallway. Through my whole time in school, I never got the board once. It wasn't because I was afraid of the hallway. Those 3 licks was nothing. I really didn't worry about them. But what I worried about and what I was afraid of My parents told me when I started school, and they reiterated it later on, about halfway through, in case I forgot, that if I got in trouble at school and I got those 3 licks in the hallway, that I got another one when I got home. Didn't matter what I got the 3 in the hallway for. Because my parents told me that if I got in trouble at school and got the board in school, that meant I was a bad impression upon them. That people would look badly upon them as their son was that kind of a person. And therefore, I was going to get a whooping when I got home. And I'm going to tell you folks right now, that one when I got home, that was the one I was afraid of. And that threat is what kept me from getting in trouble and getting those 3 licks in the hallway. Nothing else did. But that one. Okay? If we make the punishment fearful, you reduce the crime. So by going in and arresting and putting in jail and convicting just a handful of these politicians that do this sanctuary state, sanctuary city crap, you're going to make the rest of them go, maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I want to follow the law instead of tell the government that, well, your laws don't apply to me. They're not saying their laws don't apply to the people of their state. They just don't apply to these politicians. And you got the ones in Congress who support that. And they're telling the whole country, federal law don't apply to me. Yeah, we're a country of laws, but only the ones that I so desire to follow. I don't know how else to say stuff like that, because plain and simple, that's the way it is. Break it down into simplistic terms for these people. You got to follow the law. We got to secure the border, and this DACA stuff is fixed to come up again here in a couple weeks. The primary part of the DACA agreement needs to be the border security first. We can get a temporary, what's the word I'm looking for here? Reprieve for these dreamers under 21. If you're over 21, you're well over your adult time period. You're on your own. But if you're under 21, you're young enough to the fact that you didn't have a say-so in the matter until just now. So I'm giving you an opportunity now to step up as an adult and be responsible. Over 21, well, like I said, you've been an adult long enough, you know better. But we've got to secure the border first before anything permanent gets in, because if we don't, it's useless. Let me know what you think.